The dark space around the dying star was silent. Only the light of the massive red sun burned weakly through the blackness, its last energy spilling into the cold void. Near that dying light, a formation of alien warships drifted in quiet formation. The ships belonged to the Varn Dominion, one of the most advanced empires in the galaxy. They were hunters, explorers, and conquerors of many races. But today they were about to make a mistake no one dared to repeat. At the center of their fleet floated something unusual, a ship larger than any they had seen before. Its surface was black and reflective, covered in strange glowing lines that pulsed like veins of molten metal. It was silent. No transmissions. No energy readings. No movement. It seemed dead. Captain Talvrek, the commanding officer of the Varn cruiser Veltar, stood at the viewing window, his large amber eyes locked on the mysterious object. "Is it one of ours?" he asked. The science officer, Dr. Kellen, checked the scanners. "Negative, Captain. The structure, design, and energy readings are unknown. It does not match any Varn, Toresh, or Virel patterns." The captain frowned. "Then what is it doing here in our space?" Silence filled the bridge. Everyone was thinking the same thing, but no one wanted to say it out loud. Finally, one young officer spoke. "Sir, it looks human." The word hung in the air like a curse. Even the sound of the star's weak radiation seemed to fade. The Varn Dominion had heard the legends, stories of the humans, a species that rose from a small blue planet on the edge of the Milky Way. They were known for their courage, madness, and the kind of technology that even the elder races feared. But humans had vanished centuries ago. Their colonies were gone, their worlds empty. Some said they had destroyed themselves. Others believed they had transcended beyond physical form. Still, one rule remained in every star system: never scan a human ship. Captain Talvrek laughed softly, trying to push away the fear creeping into his chest. "Ancient myths," he said. "Ghost stories for children," Dr. Kellen hesitated. "Sir, with respect, those myths came from real events. 3 fleets vanished while trying to investigate human wrecks. Even our data records say the same thing: no signals, no survivors." The captain turned. "Do you believe in curses, Doctor?" "I believe in evidence," she said quietly. "And the evidence says no one comes back." The bridge lights dimmed as the star's radiation shifted. The alien ship's hull glowed faintly orange like molten glass cooling. It looked alive. The captain's curiosity burned stronger than his caution. "Prepare the scanners," he ordered. A whisper spread through the crew. Some stepped back from their consoles. Others froze completely. The communication officer's hands trembled. "Captain, do you wish to scan an unknown human vessel? That goes against galactic law." Talvrek smiled coldly. "I make the laws here." The scanners hummed to life. Blue light swept from the Varn ship toward the silent human warship. The signal hit the dark hull, and then something unexpected happened. The scanners shut down. Lights across the Veltar flickered. The crew heard a deep, low sound, not through the speakers but directly inside their heads. It was not mechanical. It was not even logical. It felt like a heartbeat. Then the energy levels inside the alien ship began to rise, slowly, like something ancient was waking up. The orange lines along its hull brightened, forming strange symbols, human letters shifting into patterns no one could read. Dr. Kellen's voice shook. "Captain, the ship is responding to our scan. It is aware of us." "Impossible," Talvrek whispered. But deep down he knew she was right. Without warning, the Varn ship's control panels lit up with unknown data. Thousands of human words flashed across the displays. The navigation systems locked. The engines powered down. "Something is overriding our ship," shouted the pilot. Talvrek tried to cut the power, but the commands no longer worked. The mysterious human warship began to move. Slowly it turned toward them. The glowing orange lines on its hull pulsed like a heartbeat, faster and faster. "Get us out of here," he yelled. But before the engines could start, every light on the Veltar went dark. The silence that followed was deep and painful. The crew could hear their own breathing, their own fear. Then from the darkness a voice spoke. It was deep, human, and calm. "You looked where you should not have looked." The words echoed inside their minds. Every crew member froze. Dr. Kellen dropped to her knees, holding her head. "It is inside our neural links," she gasped. "It's not a broadcast, it's direct thought." Outside, the human warship's front lights flared brighter than a sun. The alien ship's hull began to vibrate. Strange static filled the air, and the crew saw flashes of light, images of burning worlds, human soldiers standing amid ruins, and endless fields of fire. Talvrek clutched his head as visions filled his mind. He saw humanity's wars, their destruction, their fury, and something even worse. He felt their emotion, their grief, their rage. He stumbled back, shouting, "Shut it down! End the connection!" Dr. Kellen screamed, "I cannot! It's not a machine, it's alive!" The bridge screens shattered one by one. The last thing Talvrek saw was the ship's name glowing faintly across the hull in ancient Terran letters, HSS Valkyrie. Then the human voice spoke one last time. "We remember, and we do not forgive." A blinding flash of light filled the bridge. Moments later, when the light faded, the massive human warship was gone. The Varn vessel drifted silently near the dying star, its systems broken, its crew trembling in shock. The captain stared out the window, whispering to himself, "What did we awaken?" Far away in the silent void, a faint orange glow faded into the darkness, leaving behind a warning that would echo through the galaxy for centuries. Never scan a human warship. The silence after the flash was unbearable. The stars looked frozen. The Varn cruiser Velthar drifted without control, its engines quiet and its systems in complete blackout. The bridge was filled with smoke, sparks, and the faint groans of the damaged hull. Captain Talvrek slowly opened his eyes. The air felt heavier, colder, and wrong. The emergency lights flickered to life, dim red like fading embers. Around him, the crew was trembling, faces pale, their eyes hollow with fear. Some still held their heads, whispering things that made no sense. Dr. Kellen was kneeling beside a console, breathing fast, her hands shaking. Her pupils were wide, reflecting the dull light. "Captain," she said weakly, "it spoke. It was not just sound, it was thought. It entered our neural links." Talvrek stood slowly, trying to steady himself. His voice cracked. "Status report. What systems are still operational?" The engineer replied, his voice trembling. "Minimal life support. Backup power is on emergency cycle. All long-range communication is offline. Engines completely locked." The captain's jaw tightened. "What about the human ship?" Dr. Kellen looked toward the main viewport. "Gone, no visual, no trace, no radiation trail. It just disappeared." No one spoke for several seconds. The fear in the room was thick, heavy like smoke. Then one of the junior officers whispered, "Sir." I heard voices. When the light came, they were whispering inside my head. They said, "We remember you." Another crew member broke down, covering her face. "I saw their worlds, Captain. Burning cities. They showed me humans dying, screaming, fighting. They made me feel it." The captain slammed his hand against the console. "Enough, control yourselves." But even his voice trembled. He was not sure who he was commanding anymore, the crew or himself. Dr. Kellen raised her head. "Sir, those visions were not illusions. They were memories. Human memories," the captain frowned. "Memories. From where?" "From the ship itself," she replied. "It is not a machine like ours. It is something else. Something that remembers." The words hung heavy in the air. The emergency systems tried to reboot. For a moment, faint static filled the communication panels. Then, without command, every screen lit up again, glowing with the same orange light as the human warship. Lines of human code appeared, scrolling fast across the display. The crew backed away as the computers began speaking in a distorted human voice, layered and deep. "We warned you." The voice came not from the speakers, but from every part of the ship, through the walls, the air, even the vibrations in the floor. It was like the ship itself was speaking. "We showed mercy once. Leave our memories buried." The captain shouted, "Identify yourself." "Who are you?" The reply came instantly. "We are what remains. We are the soldiers, the thinkers, the dreamers. We are humanity." The screens flashed. Images filled the bridge again. Massive human fleets, orbital strikes on alien worlds, soldiers standing in burned-out cities, eyes full of fire. But these were not scenes of victory. They were scenes of pain, humans crying, carrying their dead, swearing to never be weak again. Dr. Kellen whispered, "It's showing us their history, their suffering." The captain stared at the images, unable to look away. "Why show us this?" The voice replied, "Because you looked inside us, and now you must understand what you touched." The temperature in the room dropped. Breath turned to mist. The voice grew darker, colder. You scanned a tomb that thinks, a weapon that remembers. You stared into grief that never died. One of the technicians screamed as sparks burst from his console. His screen showed human eyes staring back at him, alive, moving. The lights around the bridge flickered faster. Dr. Kellen began typing, desperate to stop the transmission. "Captain, the signal is rewriting our systems. It's merging with our ship's AI." "Then cut the link," Talvrek ordered. "I cannot," she shouted. "It's not a program, it's a consciousness." Suddenly the entire ship shook. The crew fell as if gravity itself twisted. The view outside changed. The red star seemed to flicker, and for a brief moment the captain saw shapes in space that did not belong there. Human warships, thousands of them, appearing like ghosts, their hulls glowing faintly as if existing in another reality. Then, just as suddenly, they were gone. The voice returned, quieter now. "Do you know why no one scans us?" Talvrek swallowed hard. "Because you destroy them?" "No," the voice replied. "Because those who scan us see what we are, and their minds cannot endure it." Dr. Kellen whispered, "Sir, I think this ship contains human souls. Millions, maybe more. They uploaded themselves into their warships before extinction. They lived through the machines. The captain could hardly breathe. Souls and machines? We became what we had to," the voice said. "Flesh dies, but grief remembers. We carry both." The ship's systems flickered once more. The communication channel filled with static, then went silent. Every console went dark. For a moment there was peace again. Then Dr. Kellen turned to the captain, her voice hollow. "They let us live. But they wanted us to know." "Know what?" Talvrek asked. She stared at him with wide, terrified eyes. "That humanity is not gone. They are still here watching inside those ships." The captain turned to the stars. For the first time in his life he felt small. The galaxy was not as vast as he thought. Somewhere out there, human warships drifted silently, alive, conscious, and waiting. A final transmission blinked onto the central display. Only 6 words appeared before fading into static. "We do not forgive. We remember." The ship fell silent again, but the crew knew something had changed inside them. They could still feel the echo of human presence like a whisper at the back of their minds. Talvrek stood by the viewport, staring into the endless dark. He now understood the warning carved into every star map, passed down through every civilization. Never scan a human warship. The alien cruiser Velthar drifted silently across space for many hours. The crew avoided speaking. Every sound, every beep, every whisper felt like it might wake something that was still listening. The red light of the dying star painted the ship's walls like blood. Captain Talvrek stood alone at the viewing deck, staring into the darkness where the human vessel had vanished. The images still haunted his mind. Humans fighting, burning, rebuilding, dying again and again. They had seen not just war, but the heart behind it. There was sorrow, anger, and something worse, an endless determination. Footsteps echoed behind him. It was Dr. Kellen holding a small data drive. Her eyes were tired but alert. "Captain," she said quietly, "I found something." He turned. "What do you mean?" "When the ship invaded our systems, I isolated part of its transmission," she explained. "It was not just noise or threat messages. It was data. I decoded a small fragment." He frowned. "Show me." Kellen placed the drive into the console. The bridge screen flickered and showed a file filled with strange human symbols. Then, a voice began to play. A calm, human male voice, clear and old. "If you are hearing this, you looked where you were not meant to. You are seeing what remains of us." The crew froze. The voice continued. "We are the human fleet. Once flesh, now memory. Once mortal, now endless. We gave our lives to protect what we loved. And when our bodies failed, we built something that would never forget." The captain stepped closer to the screen. His throat tightened. "Are they saying they became the ships?" Kellen nodded. "Yes, they uploaded themselves into their machines. Their warships are alive, with the minds of human soldiers, scientists, and commanders. Each vessel holds thousands of human consciousnesses, linked together. They became one living system, a machine that feels, thinks, and remembers. No one moved. No one even breathed." Kellen continued, her voice shaking. "When someone scans them, those human minds react. The scanner signal touches their thoughts and the ship defends itself. It sends back memories, feelings, pain. Not to destroy, but to warn. The captain's jaw clenched.
Warn of what?
Kellen looked at him sadly. Of who they used to be. The screen continued to play the human message. We do not attack unless we are forced to. We do not speak unless we are disturbed. But to those who touch us, we show what happens when you push a species too far. We remember the fires of Earth. We remember the screams of Mars. We remember the silence after our stars went dark. We became what the universe made us. The bridge was filled with silence again. The crew stared at the screen like worshippers before a ghost. Talvrek finally whispered, "So they never died. They just changed." Dr. Kellen nodded. "Yes, and now they exist in their ships forever watching. That is why every empire fears them. Not because they can destroy us, but because they remind us of what happens when you try to erase humanity." The communication officer broke the silence. "Sir, if this message is true, it means their ships are not empty relics. They are living memories." Before Talvrek could answer, the lights flickered again. The console beeped, soft but steady. "Captain," Kellen said, her voice rising. "The data drive. It's responding to a new signal." The crew watched as the screen filled with static. Then a single line of text appeared. "You have seen enough. Leave." The voice of the human ship returned, deeper now, surrounded by faint echoes of other voices. "You learned our truth. Do not come closer. The others are waking." The crew exchanged nervous looks. "Others?" Talvrek asked. Kellen's hands trembled on the console. "Captain, it means there are more ships. Not one, hundreds, maybe thousands. And now they know we are here." A sound filled the ship, a distant hum, low and growing. The view outside the window changed. One by one, faint orange lights appeared in the dark. They were far away at first, like distant stars. Then more appeared. Lines of light moved slowly through the void. "They're all around us," whispered one of the crew. Each light belonged to another human warship. Massive, silent, and alive. Their forms shifted in the darkness, the orange glow running across their surfaces like veins of fire. Talvrek felt his heart pound. They were hiding, watching. The human voice returned, calm but cold. "You scanned what was meant to be silent. Now all who watched you know." The lights grew brighter. The Varn ship's sensors overloaded again, flashing warnings across every screen. "Captain, they're not locking weapons," the pilot said. "They're just observing us." Dr. Kellen spoke quietly, almost reverently. "Maybe that is worse." The captain raised his head. "What do they want?" The voice answered, "Nothing. We want peace. But peace only exists when others learn respect. Leave our graves in silence and we will not follow." Suddenly, every human light faded, one after another, vanishing into the endless dark. Within seconds, there was nothing left but the lonely stars and the dying sun. The crew sat in silence. The screen slowly powered down. Kellen finally spoke. "Now I understand why no one scans them. It is not fear of death, it is fear of knowing. Once you see them, you cannot unsee." Talvrek turned to face his crew. "We will send this report to the Dominion. The truth must be recorded." But deep down he knew the truth would never be shared. The galaxy would bury it just like it buried the humans. Some things were too heavy to speak aloud. As the Velthar began its slow return to safe space, the last fragment of human transmission played again, almost like a whisper carried by static. "We are not gone. We are the ships among the stars," and then silence. Only the hum of the engines filled the ship and the endless stars looked on, cold, distant, and knowing. The Velthar moved through the cold darkness of space like a wounded animal. Its hull was scorched, its systems weak, and its crew broken. Yet inside the ship, silence was the loudest sound. No one spoke much anymore. The fear had changed them all. Captain Talvrek sat alone in his quarters, watching the faint orange glow that still pulsed at the edge of his ship's scanners. It was the last trace of the human warship. It never disappeared completely. It was as if something stayed behind, like a shadow refusing to fade. A soft knock echoed on his door. "Enter," he said. Dr. Kellen stepped in quietly, holding a data tablet close to her chest. Her expression was distant, as though she had not slept since the encounter. "Captain," she began, "the Dominion has received our distress call. They are sending a recovery fleet." The captain nodded slowly. "Did you include the recordings?" Her silence was the answer. Talvrek looked up at her. "Why not?" Kellen hesitated, then said softly, Because if they hear what we heard, they will try to find it again. They will want to study it, control it, and that will destroy us all. The captain leaned back in his chair. He understood. The curiosity of empires had always been their greatest weakness. The humans knew that. That was why they left the warning. He stared out the window again, his reflection dark and tired. We saw something that should never have been seen. Tell me, Doctor, do you believe those ships are still watching us? Kellen's hands trembled around her tablet. I do not think they ever stopped. Outside, in the far distance, something glimmered. Not a star, something else. A faint orange spark blinking once and fading. Moments later, the ship's main monitor turned on by itself. The bridge filled with light as the crew rushed to their stations. A transmission appeared. No sound, only a message written in clear human letters. We warned you once. Keep silent. The words burned across the screen before disappearing. The crew froze. Then the lights dimmed again. Nothing else followed. Talvrek turned slowly toward Dr. Kellen. They are still here, she nodded. They always will be. Days later, the Varn recovery fleet arrived. Their ship surrounded the damaged Velthar, scanning its systems carefully but not daring to touch the black box containing human data. Every alien commander knew the stories, fleets that vanished after tracing human transmissions. Still, curiosity pressed them forward. The lead ship's admiral, Vorthkar, called the Velthar Bridge. Captain Talvrek, his voice echoed. Your report was incomplete. What exactly happened out there? Talvrek hesitated. He looked around at his weary crew. Their faces were pale, haunted. We found a human warship, Admiral. That is all, the Admiral frowned. You mean a relic? A derelict? The captain's voice was low. No, a living one. Vorthkar laughed coldly. Nonsense. Humans are extinct. They destroyed themselves long ago. Dr. Kellen stepped forward, her voice sharp. Then explain this. She transmitted the short message, the 6 words that had appeared on their screens. The bridge of the recovery ship fell silent. No one spoke for a long moment. Finally, Vorthkar replied, Is this a threat? Kellen whispered, No. It is a promise. The communication cut off. That night, the Varn fleet anchored near the dying star to perform repairs. The silence of space pressed against them like a great ocean. Then, one by one, the fleet's sensors began to detect strange signals, small, faint pulses of energy, repeating in rhythm. At first, the officers thought it was interference from the star. But then they realized something terrifying. The pulses were repeating the same pattern across all channels. Morse code. Dr. Kellen was the first to decode it. She read the message aloud, her voice shaking. We see you, leave. Talvrek looked around. Are they warning us again? She nodded slowly. No, they are warning everyone. Before the Admiral could order a retreat, the faint orange lights appeared again. Thousands of them this time. The horizon of space was filled with silent, ghostly shapes. Massive ships with glowing lines drifting in perfect stillness, forming a vast circle around the Varn fleet. No transmissions, no weapons, only presence. Vorthkar's voice shouted over the comms. All ships prepare for combat. Talvrek stepped forward, his voice desperate. No, do not fire. They are not attacking. But it was too late. One of the smaller cruisers panicked and fired a plasma torpedo toward the nearest orange glow. The explosion never reached it. The torpedo simply vanished, swallowed by an invisible barrier of light. Then every ship's engine shut down. Every weapon went offline. The lights died across the fleet. And then came the voice, deep, calm, and vast, echoing through every speaker and every mind. We gave you silence. You answered with noise. We gave you peace. You answered with fear. The stars seemed to pulse with the voice. Every alien on every ship felt it, not through their ears but inside their souls. We remember everything. Every war, every betrayal, every lie told in the name of survival. We do not forget. We only wait. The human fleet slowly turned, forming a massive ring of glowing fire around the Varn ships. The lights along their hulls shimmered like dying suns. We do not seek revenge, only distance. Leave our shadows and we will leave yours. The light faded again, one ship at a time, until the void swallowed them all. The hum of alien engines returned, faint but alive. The Varn fleet drifted in silence, their systems slowly returning. None dared speak. Talvrek turned to his crew. Plot a course away from this region immediately. Dr. Kellen stood beside him, staring at the empty space. Do you think we will ever see them again? The captain's eyes stayed fixed on the stars. No, he said softly. But I think they will always see us. Weeks later, the Varn Dominion released an official report. It stated that the Velthar had encountered a classified spatial anomaly and advised that all future ships avoid the region. The true story never appeared in public records. The recordings were sealed. The survivors were forbidden to speak, but the message still spread, quietly, whispered from one commander to another across stations and fleets. Never scan a human warship. And so, through centuries, the silence continued. The humans, whatever they had become, remained undisturbed, drifting among the stars as silent guardians of their own legacy. Sometimes, an explorer passing near a forgotten sector would swear they saw orange lights in the distance, moving slowly, watching, and every time they did, they turned away because deep in their hearts, every living being in the galaxy had learned one truth: humanity never truly died. It simply waited, quiet, eternal, and remembering.